All right, we'll call the meeting back to order.
Do you have one of these?
I think so.
Okay.
Let me look.
We have John Mapes with us this morning from Mapes and Miller.
Yeah. Okay, everybody's got, I guess, a copy of the first draft.
Yep.
I had sent an email with some of the adjustments that I had made to get us down to the tax lid. Some of the items that are outside of the tax lid is the sheriff and the ambulance, and of course the 6 mills on the Public Building Commission. So, of course, the 6 mills is required by voter approval. But if we adjust ambulance or adjust sheriff, that's not going to affect our tax lid.
Is there a limit on how much you can adjust those entities?
No.
I don't know, somehow we'd heard or was told that there was 3 point some percent was all you could go up on emergency services. I don't even know where that started, but.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
There's a limitation on what it can be used for. In other words, it can't be used for buildings in either sheriff's or EMS. And they're and what we've got in the sheriff's computation is the sheriff, the dispatch, and the jail care.
Yes.
So but basically we've got adjustments for some new improvements, and then there's the 1.4% overall adjustment. Now, the fire district, I did. It's under a separate lid, and the city-county lid is restricted to a 5-year average on the Consumer Price Index, where all other entities are the prior year Consumer Price Index. So the fire district was able to increase more to 2.1%. What we're looking at is our valuation went up about 8.1%. So we got a nice increase in valuation. Now, going up to the maximum under the lid, we will actually increase our ad valorem taxes by 3.36%, which will be just almost $168,000 more taxes levied this year versus a year ago. So, but because of the increase in valuation, then that drops our mill levy down to the 98.113. So then, as I'd indicated in my email, I had made some adjustments. Local sales tax seemed to be dropping. I looked at the trend and went ahead and adjusted it down 10% from where I think it'll be this year. Our ambulance fees are dropping, and I adjusted it down 5% from where it is. We had it for this year. And to be real honest with you, that's pretty minimal. I'm seeing a lot of places the ambulance fees are dropping more than that because Medicare is just getting so hard to get along with, and what they'll allow and stuff on those.
So we raised our ambulance fees and it's not going to make any difference.
Not going to make any difference on the Medicare for sure.
Most of them are probably
Which
Medicare.
are most of them, yeah. Okay, then on the expenditure side, the judicial, if we look, I guess, page, well, let's look at 7A. The judicial, we were at $40,200 this year. They only spent $29,000 last year, so dropped them back took what did I take $12,000 out of their budget, put them back closer to where they were. Then on clerk of the court, they had asked for a $5,000 increase, and I put them back where they were because they were at $25,000 for this year, but only spent a little over $24,000 last year. Grant administration, I think Scott had said something about
Well,
we
if I
need.
could say something on the contractual.
Yeah,
The reason that they were looking at that increase on the contractual part of it is because of court-appointed attorneys and the number of cases that we had been filing. And so that was why they were looking at a possible increase in that part, just as an explanation for that additional 5 on that.
Yeah, but it's so hard to predict what you're going to actually,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, when it comes to the criminal side, we have the court-appointed fees reimbursed. That's a part of the way in which things work. However, with your child in need of care cases, those aren't reimbursable expenses.
that is the thing, is that's hard to tell.
yeah.
And it doesn't matter really what it is, you're gonna pay.
Right. That's where I was working towards. It doesn't matter what we have there, we still got to pay it.
Yeah,
We'll have to, so if we go over, we'll have to move something
Yeah.
from somewhere else
Yeah.
anyway.
So like, jail care is not it's under the tax lid?
jail care is part of the sheriff, which is exempt from tax levy. But the court is not.
Right.
Because aren't we in trouble in the jail care?
He was talking about being like 6% over budget for jail
I
care.
noticed we're budgeting the same.
I put in there what we had received. Let's see what,
Seems like we ought to
sheriff's
raise that.
dispatch, jail care. Okay, let me look at that and, see if I had a budget on it. If I didn't have a budget,
He didn't see
I'd
it.
have left
That's what I was just going to look.
jail care.
He's
That
good.
and I didn't have a budget on.
Because I'm thinking we're kind of close to going over budget, aren't we?
Well, and you can see, went over in what we spent in 2017 was more than what we got either this year or next year.
Yeah. Seems like we ought to,
You want to bump that up 25,000 or so?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah, because there again, no matter where we put it, we still got to pay it
And that is
Yeah,
one that's
we
outside of the
got a lot
tax
of
list.
somewhere.
and you're saying the judicial.
Maybe we ought to make it 26,000.
Okay, where are we at? Jail care.
Bump it 26.
25,000 bringing me to 77,000, we spent almost 78. Probably wouldn't hurt to take it to 80, actually, to be.
Well, yeah, he's got 77,000 here.
We actually spent 77 and 17.
77 is what he's
Yes.
requesting.
That's what that's in my notes.
For judicial,
What's that?
what did we request in judicial? Because we put the same as what we spent in 17.
Well, in regards
Judicial.
to jail care, I definitely believe it needs to be raised with our history.
Well, I agree with John. If we can
Yeah.
get it to 80,000.
Right. Right. Okay, Roger. Now, moving on to judicial, what was your question?
Well,
It was
We had-
41,406 is what they requested.
Yeah, we were at 40,000 for an estimate of 2018, and then we budgeted 29,000 for 2019.
Said they didn't use it all up last year.
They just have found it.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Yeah, and the original amount was 41,406, and I cut 12,000 out of that to bring it back.
I think the question is the current year estimate for 2018. That,
Yeah, and that was what was the
Where we're at right now.
40,200 is what we approved for 2017.
And we only spent 29.
The prior, yeah. So my thought was maybe we was a little too high there. But we do have, when we get down to the end, the place that I'm taking money out of is
No.
courthouse.
no, they come out of clerk of the court,
Oh, they do.
yeah.
The courthouse general had a $200,000 budget. We spent $6,000 last year. So that's where I'm pulling down, if we need to raise, for instance, the judicial backup, then that's where I pull it down to get us under the lid. So, let's see. What was it? Jail care, is that what we,
Yeah, jail care.
we took that up to what, 80,000?
80, let's go that way.
So you're saying we have to take some out somewhere, that much out?
No,
Okay, well, that's what I thought.
Judicially, you would, but
Judicial you would, jail care you wouldn't because it's not under the lid.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not in the lid.
But judicial's not a.
And I guess
It's a difference.
I misinformed John because I thought you guys didn't want a full requested amount.
Only the judicial part of it.
Yeah,
Well, these are just kind of starting
Yeah.
places.
yeah. That was my misunderstanding. I guess.
You were gonna look at that budget a little closer, that request from upstairs. Did you have any more?
From what I understand, apparently, there's a new server that they might be needing. And then I also heard that Judge Behrens is requiring or wants to require the recording systems in each of the 7 counties to be the same. So, I mean, that's just what I've heard. I haven't been able to confirm that.
Maybe we can take these recording systems out of his budget.
Well, judicial also has an equipment reserve. We put 9,000 in there
Yeah.
in 2017. So,
But another thing too is, part of it was anticipation of jury trials.
That was Natalie's explanation, and given our track record on jury trials,
Yeah, and I apologize, the last 2 jury trials that I know of in the district were the ones that I had in Sherman County.
yeah.
I'm not aware, I mean, there are jury trials that are scheduled, but, you never know if they're gonna go. But I think there was a requested increase of about 2,000 on that. As part of the contractual, and I apologize, I left that downstairs. But it would appear that they were trying to anticipate some sort of equipment expenses.
Well, she's showing witness fees and travel. She's doubling that from 500 to 1,000.
capital outlay, the office equipment, recording equipment, she was requesting 10,000.
Excuse me.
I guess I'm kind of old school. If the recording equipment's working, what does it need to be replaced? I'm
Well,
sorry.
yeah, I don't quite follow that logic either. Why would it matter whether Goodlands is the same as St. Francis?
All of the clerks know how to operate their recording.
Their own equipment. Yeah. Okay, so where are we at there?
Are we on the judicial part? Do we want to leave it at the 41,406 that they originally requested, or
I don't think so.
the 29,406 is what I had thought maybe to make it look reasonable.
That to me is
They
a-
spent 29, but that in 17, that included 9,000 transfer.
Right.
So they only spent really about 20,000.
I like your number a lot better. At 29,406.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's stay with that.
Okay. Do we want to just go back to the top of 7B and just kind of start down through each department?
Sure, let's do that.
Okay.
One quick thing.
Yeah.
The CIC contract is coming out of computers. And the IT person would like that to be, it's $33,000 for this contract. He would like that transferred from computers to courthouse general. Is that something that can be done?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it'd drop that budget down, but remove that
But
money.
move it up in the courthouse general. I guess I'm wondering, well, why would you, isn't that related to the computers?
Yeah, that,
It's software and stuff?
that fund is so messed up. It was originally set up to pay this stuff, then it morphed into IT stuff. And what that was originally set up for is not being used for that anymore. I mean,
It's being used for all the computer costs.
yeah. You know, like internet used to be paid out of there. There was a lot, well, even copy paper used to be paid out of there. So,
Oh, I can
I
see,
mean, to me, I don't care. That's just a request.
I can see where copy paper probably ought to come out of courthouse general, the internet probably too. I would think the computers would be directly related to
And if you think it needs to
computer
stay
cost, maintenance,
We can leave it there.
software licensing.
Okay, let's just leave it there then. That was just a
But
request.
that's nothing that's set in stone anyway.
It really hasn't caused any problems. I mean, it's not,
Okay.
I'd just leave it right where it's at.
Okay.
Okay, the appraiser, let me get back on my computer here. Okay. The appraiser adjusted some figures but stayed with the same overall budget. Ambulance, they're up about, what, $5,000. But that is outside the lid. Election, he's up $690. Commissioners requested the same. Clerk is, what, up about 1,600, not quite 16. Treasurer's up 1,000. Attorney requested the same. Register of Deeds is up a little, what, $950. Sheriff is up about 9,000, but that is outside the lid. Dispatch, looks like that's up about 7. At jail care, we already adjusted it back up to 80,000. Okay. Judicial, we talked about that. I got it at that 29,406. Took 12,000 out of their original, which their original had 10,000 in there for capital outlay, and they've already got a equipment reserve anyway.
Yeah.
The clerk contractual part, they had asked for 30,000, and I'd taken 5,000 out of that. Spent 24,000 something. Think I ought to take up that maybe 1,000.
What'd they request?
They requested
Requested 30.
30,000, and I put it back the same as what it was in the current year.
And we'd kind of talked about that. We really didn't see where it needed to be increased anyway.
Okay. Well, that's where I was coming from. Okay, your buildings and grounds, looks like we got about a little under $8,000 increase there. Okay,
Well, and part of that was because instead of it being budgeted last year at 47, wasn't it put in at 41?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah.
yeah. Grant administration, we reduced Scott and I have talking about it, reduced the contractual by $10,450 and brought the overall budget down to 10,000.
Yeah, because
Okay.
there again, we didn't have very many take advantage of that anyway.
Emergency preparedness, which would be, that one's increased, what, $700 looks like. Landfill moved some expenses around, but basically still has the same 170,000. Which really, I mean, when you look at the amount that's being transferred to equipment reserve, that's still pretty good for it. Just transferred 43,000 there last year. Home for the Aged, that's at 6 mils, which we've got to do. That last year, I kind of recommended that maybe we ought to consider pulling that 6 mils out into a separate fund of its own, so that the public could
To see it,
Yeah,
and I think we'd like that too. Because we're constantly being questioned about
okay.
this 6
Well,
mil,
my
that
thought-
6 mil.
Yeah, my thought is I would probably put it back in the notice of hearing right above the PVC Home for the Aged and underneath the hospital.
Yes.
And then what I'll do is
Yeah.
go back and restate the other 2 years to pull 6 mills out of the general and show it,
I think that's a great idea,
so that the public can really see what we got.
because we get a lot of questions about that.
Okay,
There's 6 goes to the hospital, 6 goes to the home for the aged, and 6
goes to the
PBC.
bonds.
For the
Right.
bonds.
But the one for the home for the gauges and I voted on 6 mil.
It's what?
It wasn't a voted on 6 mil.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay, I thought it was.
No, we just go with the equivalent because the way in which the vote was worded, it was only for the refurbishing, remodel, and building.
And it didn't say 6 mills.
It didn't say operating.
Oh,
So that's why we have the 6 mil for the PVC, so that they can build it and furnish it and everything. And that's why we have the equivalent of 6 mil to actually operate the,
but the one that was operating was done several years ago. And it didn't have the 6 mills in that.
you mean in regards to a vote, or?
Yeah.
There was never a vote.
Okay, I guess, okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was approved of ours too. So, but regardless, if we're gonna give them 6, I think we ought to pull it out and show it.
I definitely would like to see it
Me too.
right there.
Okay, courthouse general. Now, that's, last year, we had that $180,000 for transferred equipment reserve. And I, it was one of the items that I removed to get out, get us down under the lid. And then up under the capital outlay, we had 200,000 in there for capital outlay, and you can see we only spent 6 year before, so I kind of figured, well, that's part of our cushion. So right now, I'm at 162.6, and I'll need to adjust that a little bit for any other adjustments that we made.
I think that looks good, especially since we only used 6,400 a year before.
Yeah. Computers, looks like they want a little, about 1,500 increase there. Employee benefits, I used about a 3% increase there. In other words, probably got enough to handle some salary increases, but if we put more employees on,
Then it'll be gone.
then I won't have enough. Health insurance, in 17, your cost went up 15.46%. So over 16 amount. And so what I did is I kind of used the 15%.
As a guide.
Okay. That's, boy, I'm seeing them all over the place. To be real honest with you, I've had some that's had very little or no increase. In the current year, I just had one county that got a 25% increase 1st of June. So budget tips, say 5 to 10, but I think we ought to put 15 to have a little cushion there because that's such a large amount.
Yeah.
Retirement, actually, when you look at it, I thought it was too high, and I pulled that back a little. Life insurance, I left that the same. Workman's comp, we increased that 700. Unemployment, left the same. Okay, other, we got that community project payment for the critical care transport, 26,000. That's where I stuck it in there.
I said, what's that?
That's what I was gonna ask.
It's what?
What's that?
Boy, I don't know. Probably was something you sent me.
I think when it comes to budgets, there's no stupid question.
Right here.
Oh, okay.
Is that part of something else, or? Does that need a new line item for it?
Dolores gave that to me. I'll have to, I don't know if she's here, but I'll have to double check. I can't remember what she said about that.
The next item, that capital outlay, we didn't use any out of it in 17. We had a $3,000 budget. And when I talked to Scott, he said, I don't think we'll use that, and so let's take that out. So I did.
Okay.
The recycling, it looked like that was too high. And I had initially was going to pull it down, but Scott said you might be doing something different. And we probably better leave it up there.
With the tariff thing going on between the United States and China, a lot of our recyclables the values just dropped away, and so we're going to have some tough decisions there. What we're going to do with our recycling. So I anticipate that number to be a little higher than it has been.
Okay. Yeah, well, we're close to 50% higher. Okay. Repayment of fees received, well, that's kind of up and down from year to year. Put it in the same as last year. Other, I left it the same as last year. Northwest Regional Recycling, I just left it the same as last year. And RCND, 500, I left that the same. ROS payment, it's been running 74.22. And for some reason, we budgeted less in the current year. But I thought maybe we ought to put it up that 74.22, just make sure we got the amount there. Okay. Health Department, the contracted amount, I left it 11,000, basically left those all the same as last year. The services for the aged, Burge City the same, St. Francis the same, Northwest Council on Aging, same as it was last year. We'd upped that in 17. Then the juvenile services, I left that in there the same. That's one that can go 2-3 years and then hit 10,000 all at once. So you just never know. I had one county that hadn't had anything in 3 years and got a bill the other day for 5,000.
Yeah, there again, that's something you can't predict.
Yeah. Fair. Environmental protection. I see that we paid them 17.20 and 17, so I raised that to 17.20. The fair, I left it the same. Historical, the same. Mental health, mental retardation, the same. Conservation district, the same. Western Kansas Child Advocacy, the same as the 17 budget. Domestic and sexual violence, same. Northwest Planning and Development, I left it the same as 17. and economic development left it the same. Then on grant expenses, basically the public transportation. I don't remember, did they ask for less? Yeah, they did. They asked for less. So I adjusted that. So that kind of covers my general fund. The road and bridge, now that's one that, what was it, we left the, we moved some of the budget around, but the total budget is still the same. We've got in that $200,000 to go to transfer to spatial machinery and $164,300 to special road improvements. And so we should have plenty of money there. The thing about it is we had such a nice carryover coming out of 2017. It helped reduce our mill levy, and that brought that mill from 23.8 mills down to 16.8. But my problem is we're probably going to have to keep it down there in the future to keep under the lid.
Yep.
So, noxious weed, what I did there, most counties levy a mill and a half. And so I went back and put him some, he's always had some sales and reimbursements. I put some back into the 17 budget to give him a carryover to bring that down to a mill and a half. Without that, he'd have been over the mill and a half. But I thought, well, we'd try to keep him at the mill and a half. And with his sales, he should be all right. Then we got the hospital at 6 mills and the Public Building Commission at 6 mills. So, okay, because of my delinquency calculation, the adjustment I made in the, what was it, the jail, threw me off a little bit. Okay, right on the lid now. So I'm looking at 98.645 mils.
What can we go to on the tax lid?
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. And the reason we went up was we adjusted the jail, which is part of the sheriff's, which is exempt. So,
So we're going up as much as we can then?
yep, yep. Now, by the time we get this in the paper, it'd be next week's. Do you want to have a special meeting? You've got a meeting on the 15th of August, but we don't have the 10 days. We've got to have 10 days in between publication and the hearing. Do you want to have a special meeting on the 22nd, or do you want to have it on your 31st? What's your thoughts on the 31st? Is that too late for you? I think that
That's gonna be,
recommendation is to have it certified to the clerk by the 25th.
right.
If we had it on the 22nd, then we'd make that 25th.
I would kind of prefer the 22nd.
I'm gonna,
It's not a problem
you
with
guys
me.
are gonna laugh. That's when I'm having my eye surgery, is the 22nd.
We don't need you, Roger.
Well,
We've done it without you.
I just picked that date because it was a week after your other one.
not
I
gonna miss
actually was gonna take a day off and be out of town.
What
Well-
they're doing when you run out of eyes, you're gonna have to come up with a new excuse.
Well, the other thing I was
Is your
supposed to
paper
have
come out on Thursday?
tested, and,
Yes.
the surgery
Which
is
would be
the
nice,
22nd.
so
Well,
anytime the week of the 20th would be a feasible time.
I can do any day that week, except for Tuesday and Wednesday.
What's the 23rd look like for you?
I'm okay.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay. Okay, you want to call a special meeting like 9 o'clock on the 23rd?
Run a Thursday.
Yes, that'd be Thursday.
That's the day we'll approve the budget then?
Yeah, you'd have a hearing on it, and normally right after the hearing, when you,
Approve it.
a motion that, if you're not going to adjust anything, would be a motion to adopt it as published. And,
I'm sorry, did you say 9:30? Or what?
9, I don't care.
Doesn't matter to me.
Me either.
you had it last year at 9,
9. Let's do 9.
okay. Okay, well, I'll get it worked up and get you the proof of publication back.
okay.
Get it to the paper this week. Get you the rest of it in a week or so.
I just have a stupid question. When did the tax lid start, is in effect? I mean,
This is what the third year that we've been under it, yeah.
oh,
And to be real honest with you, it scared me to death because put together a budget that looked like it was reasonable and workable. And then when, after the primary, and the hearing was after the primary, and some of the commissioners didn't get reelected, then they reduced it from what they had published it at. And I really thought we was putting you into a tough situation. And so, let's see, actually, it'd been 3 years ago when it said it. Last year was the first year under the lid. And we put in some extra deputies and stuff into the budget and
We moved their, the sheriff's department, their benefits. We
yeah,
moved them.
benefits into that calculation and stuff. And so then, and so this is the second year that now we're under it. And like I said, yeah, we cut some stuff out of this budget, but this wasn't as bad as I anticipated.
Yeah, that's good.
But-
I just, And I just don't understand budgets, I'm sorry, but we had 4,656,000 actual in 2017. Now, this year, we're gonna have 4,782,000. How can it be less if we increased by 1.5% or whatever?
Well, because of two things. Our carryover is dropping each year. And that's concerning me. We've got,
I mean, it looks like we're operating under less money than we were.
yeah, we are. Our carryover in general fund into 2017 was almost $1.5 million. We dropped to carryover into coming into 18 to $1.1 million. I'm looking at dropping that carryover. If we spent all of
I saw
our
the
18,
carryover, yeah, we don't have
it'll
very
drop
much.
down to 380,000.
380,000.
Now, if we, then in the 20 budget, I'll bet you that's gonna be probably down to about zero.
Zero.
And, you know, my suspicion is we're gonna have a tough year budgeting in 2020. Much tougher than I think we had in
It's all
19.
because of carryover.
Well, that's the carryover, yeah, we're gonna use it. Now, in the meantime, we have set up some nice reserves. We've got some money in multi-year capital outlay. We may have to next year look at some of that coming back.
Come back, yeah.
And once that comes back, then we may have to look at cutting road and bridge some more. And my thought is, what is it, 1st of June, isn't it? When you've got to decide to put it out for vote if you want to increase it that year.
Yeah, I believe so.
Something like that. So by the time you get into doing your budgets, you're too late
Yeah.
to put it out to vote. And my thought is, well, if you put it out to vote and say we want to raise our taxes, it's probably not going to fly. But they get a hollering about the bridges, roads and bridges, and you say, well, we got to keep cutting that because we got to keep the county operating. Then it might pass.
So in other words, we're gonna end up just like the state of Kansas. We're gonna start stealing from
Yeah.
road
yeah.
and bridge, just like they're stealing from KDOT
Yeah.
to run the state.
But you can
Hadn't
remember,
thought about it, but you're right. You're right.
we encouraged him last year, to keep that money that he had, because he actually requested less than he had the year before, and we encouraged him to keep that number up there, just anticipating
Yeah.
this problem.
I've got one county this year that's having to bring some money back from their multi-year they just couldn't keep under the,
So we're not alone here.
No,
I mean, it's
no.
tough everywhere.
no.
What is your
Well, that
suggestion
helps
on
me. I didn't
raises?
understand that.
What I'm seeing most of them talking about is 3 to 3.5.
We'd kind of discussed 3.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the reason I'd seen that 3 somewhere, and that's
Right.
what I used in that.
And I
Social
think
Security
that's,
amount.
and I think the department heads, that's the number that they kept hearing, so
Yeah.
I think we're all right there. All right.
And then probably, I don't know when, but this farmland valuation is going to
It's going to go down.
And so instead of us seeing a valuation increase, one of these times we're going to see a valuation decrease, which means that if you go to the top of the lid, instead of us having about a $4.5 million decrease, we're going to have maybe a $4.5 million increase. And of course, what the taxpayers really look at is that mill rate.
Right.
So at that point,
Which I think you're getting about to the top of the ag.
Average.
Well, I think
the
we're
top
back-
of
we're
that.
gonna
I think
start
you're
down
gonna
now.
start
it's got
going
to. We've got
Yeah.
some bad years. It's got to go into the ratio.
Because you're on a 5.
It's 8, is what somebody told me.
5 or 8 year,
Average, and so,
so we're still on that 5 or 8 years ago when land values are so high.
well, it's actually, that's on production. Land value has nothing to do with assessed
What comes
valuation of
off
the
of it?
land.
Yeah.
It's all based upon the production, the 8-year average on the production. 5 or 8, I'm not sure which it is.
Yeah.
Well, as always, thank you very much for
Okay.
coming over. And we'll see you again on the 23rd.
Oh, you want me to come out?
Well, you don't have to. I mean,
I was gonna say I hadn't been. so-
no. You guys can coordinate what.
If you want me to come, I'd rather move it to
So we
10.
didn't need to publish. When do we have to publish it?
We need
Next
to-
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Want to
Thank you
stay
very
with-
much.
With the original at 9?
Yeah.
All right, and then Brian Thompson with Mapes and Miller emailed me during the meeting. They've got the reader upon procedures for auditing Fund 120 that we've been waiting on
Oh, yeah.
for those positions.
Positions for the hospital.
Would like to. And this is the information. There's one, if you approve it, there is one for you to sign there, Terry.
Try to get in,
I have one.
and fill out the forms and go see Ryan and Jim.
Can we get it anytime?
Yep, if you have one of these.
That'll give me the proof.
No.
What's the big if you got a card?
Oh, Roger. Here.
Okay, we'll see you next year.
Okay, thank you, John.
You've came a long way since you started with us.
I was gonna say.
What now, Rodney? He didn't never say, did he?
He just wanted to hear but he come by my house yesterday and just was asking about the budget. You know him, he's just interested in
Oh,
numbers
he's
and
very
stuff.
supportive.
Yeah.
Very supportive.
He apologized. He said I was talking about my grandkids.
So we'll make that information available to the hospital. Hopefully they'll make a decision soon.
Well, I think that
It's gotta get
we've got to
audited
approve
first
to,
to audit it.
yeah, to audit it, and the hospital's only going to look at it after that audit's done.
So they're gonna charge $2,000 to $3,000 to audit it?
And if it happens to go above that, then they will come back to us. Or if they think it's gonna go above that, then they will come back to us with some other stuff. I don't think it's going to. I don't know. I'm not an auditor either, but he thought when he got the data from me and stuff, he didn't think it was gonna be a big deal to do that. But that doesn't mean he's not gonna run into,
Yeah, problem.
Well, how long do they think it'll take to get it done?
I don't know. We hit them right in the exact wrong time of the season because they're trying to do budgets, they're trying to do county audits,
I saw it.
and I guess if you guys assume we need a motion, and Terry will sign this.
Okay, so her motion to go ahead and move forward with the audit for the, what's the name of that position again?
The rural healthcare.
Rural healthcare, there we
About
go.
120, isn't it?
Yes, Fund 120.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'd like to call executive session for 15 minutes. I don't think it'll take that long.
For non-elected.
Non-elected personnel.
I move we go into executive session for non-elected personnel for 15 minutes.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.